We are getting close to the halfway point of the legislative session, which means some proposals at the state capitol are starting to die. Olympia Bureau Chief Drew Mickelson joins us now with a look at what is still alive and what won't be passing this year, Drew.
Hi, Christine. Welcome to the rotunda of the state capitol. Friday was the first of several cutoff deadlines. Bills that have nothing to do with the budget had to pass out of committee, and a lot of bills didn't make it. A couple here. The move to ditch the switch, a bill to permanently put Washington State on standard time, never had a hearing. It had support from Democrats and Republicans, just not enough of either. Another bill we covered that likely is dead, the move to prohibit police from being able to pull cars over for non-moving violations like broken taillights or recently expired tabs. Police really pushed back on this one, saying those kinds of stops lead to safer roads and can end up busting drunk drivers or tracking down wanted subjects. The rent stabilization bill to cap rent increases to 7% a year, it and dozens of others did pass out of committee, so they are still alive. There is another week until we have the cutoff deadline for budget-related bills. That will come on Friday. And just because a bill is considered dead today doesn't mean it necessarily won't come up again. Some bills have a way of resurrecting themselves late in the session, and we'll be here until late April. So we'll keep an eye on some of those. Christine.
All right, Drew. And one bill advancing would change the state's initiative process, and that one is raising some controversy, it seems, Drew.
Yeah, Republicans are calling this the initiative killer. This is a bill that Democrats say would just add some accountability to the initiative process and the signature gathering process. Democrats seem to like it, but not the Democrat who heads up elections in the state, Democratic Secretary of State Steve Hobbs. He does not like this idea.
For more than 100 years, Washington citizens who have gathered enough signatures have been able to propose laws to the legislature or voters through initiatives. Last year, 7 qualified for consideration. This year, there's a push to add new rules to the process.
It is a solution in search of a problem.
Brian Haywood helped sponsor last year's initiatives. He and longtime initiative backer Tim Eyman told state senators a new proposal would make it harder for the public to be heard.
This is a tremendous burden.
Under the bill, initiative signers would also need to sign a declaration that their information is accurate, they've read the initiative, and were not paid for their signature. And after the signatures are turned in, the Secretary of State's office would need to confirm residential addresses along with verifying signatures of registered voters.
People want to be heard, and we should make the process just as easy as it is now. We shouldn't impede that.
Republicans, like Senator Jeff Wilson, oppose the bill.
I don't like this bill because it just adds another barrier to what's going on with the signatures.
Democratic Secretary of State Steve Hobbs says his staff already identifies fraudulent signatures by checking the signatures. Adding another step would require hiring additional staff at a time when state and federal funding could be reduced.
Right now, while we're being stripped of federal support for cybersecurity and we're being vulnerable to attack from nation-state actors, I'm trying to get the legislature to pay for my cybersecurity team. And right now, that's up in the air.
The bill's Democratic sponsors note more than 20 other states use addresses for verification. Senate Majority Chair Jamie Peterson says the changes would improve accountability.
The basic reform that it proposes is that you would actually match up a signature with the address of a registered voter. Wow, that does not seem like a big leap.
Former Secretary of State Sam Reed, a Republican, is also weighing in on this. He sent an email to legislators saying this proposal would make the initiative process more cumbersome. He also thinks it might disenfranchise voters. Christine?
So, Drew, you also looked into a bill that is known as the Homes for Heroes Act. That one is still progressing, correct?
Yes, it is. And it's one that does have support from both Democrats and Republicans. Members from both parties are part of the sponsorship. And this is one of the few bills that we've actually heard from Bob Ferguson on. He supports this law.
We were just like, what do we do? How do we put together something that could help workforce shortage and recruit, retain, and have members of our heroes living in our communities.
Representative April Connors' Homes for Heroes Act would help folks like first responders, social workers, nurses, child care providers. They'd get up to $25,000 in zero-interest loans to help put a down payment on a home.
And then
paraeducators who typically work in schools with special education students or are on recess and lunch patrol, they were just added to the heroes list. A pleasant surprise for Rochester para May Filer.
We're the ones who are there 1-to-1, 2-to-1, 3-to-1 with these small groups doing some of the biggest work. And so it is tough that we are also the ones who are struggling the most to be able to make ends meet.
And Christine, as you mentioned, we're nearing the halfway point in this legislative session, so we'll expect to hear a lot more about the budget and potential tax increases to make up for this deficit that everyone's been preparing for. Governor Bob Ferguson says he wants taxes to be his last resort. He's asked for state agencies to come up with 6% cuts across the board to see what that might look like. We are expecting to find out what those cuts would look and feel like some point this week. Back to you.
Okay, Drew, we know you'll be following it very closely. Thank you very much. And for in-depth coverage throughout the legislative session, you can head over to our free streaming app, King 5 Plus. Right now on the app, you can find extended versions of Drew's in-session reports available for streaming.